Okay, good morning. We are back on the farm this week and we've got a little bit of Fowler and Gilbert to chuck in there as well, because on the farm wise, it is just after the bank holiday weekend. We've had Chris, the guys, Ditty the Digger Driver have come in and we've stripped this site off. That big muddy patch has now gone. All of that has gone round the corner and we've stripped off. We've set all the stone in, all the levels are pretty much set roughly for the moment for the new sheds to go in, or the new shed and the bio unit to go in. So this corner here is pretty much the corner now of the main building. So that is 35 foot that way and 100 foot in length. And that's then left us with a bit of a funny sort of triangle here, which is what we wanted anyway, because that is going to be our new access then through here to the field. And at the same time, out of the end of the building, we've got all of our machinery and all of our kit going in there. We've got cows and calves and stuff in this building here. We've got cows and calves in the lean-to behind, which we can then set a race up and set our handling facility up here. So when it comes to either sending cattle onto the ground in the fields, we can do, or we can put them in a holding pen and we've got somewhere to load them instead of trying to do it out of each individual building as we're doing it. So that's going to work a treat. Building wise, like I say, we start in this corner here. We're 100 feet in length that way, and it's split up into 20-foot bay centres. So there's 5 bays there, which gives, at 20 foot as a machinery store, it works quite well because you've got, most implements don't exceed 10 foot in width. So you can get your 8-foot implement in, you've got a little gap and get your next one in. So the posts don't generally get in the way. Now we might end up using this building as well just for either a little bit of lambing or maybe some cattle in the winter months. Not that I want to, but if we do that, then we can put some machinery up in the little sheep shed that we've got up the top that we've presently got filled with cattle as well. But I think primarily we'll try to keep the machinery in here and keep the livestock up there, so the smaller ones we can keep an eye on because they're closer to the house. So then going down the site. So originally we put this entrance in here where we tarmac the splay in, which was our field entrance, but it was always sort of the plan or the intention to put the official farm office and bio unit here with this car parking area. So when we strip this off, we strip this a little bit higher because we don't need to go down as low to meet them existing yards, and we're going to sit the car park, there's enough room for about 3 or 4 cars. We're going to sit that slightly higher, as well as the bio unit, because we don't need that to be as low as the rest of the existing farm area. So if you spin round, so we've got this difference in levels of about 300 mil or so, where that unit itself will sit higher and then everything else will be landscape background and concreted to afterwards. We've got a bit of a cutout there so we can put a bit of a path up the side so we can access the doors and windows and stuff. And then this is where you will end up coming out of the bio unit, where you are overhauled up in your clean wellies, ready to go on to either pigs or cattle. This yard now at a lower level will then run through and connect up to the existing yard. So all the drainage will then form into like a valley down the centre, be picked up, and then comes through and into our first attenuation pond here, which is like a catchment pond for all the surface water of the entire site. And then from this pond, it gets filtered through to the next pond at a slower rate, and then ultimately discharged off into the watercourse out the far end. So we've dug the site off on a slope of the clay so that all the rain that we keep having is not going to stop us, because all of that water is going to work its way under the stone and at the moment just off and into there. But as soon as we've done the concreting, we're going to catch all that in the new drainage system. So the stuff that we've dug off the site with topsoil we have just piled up and put into a nice tidy bund here. All the sloppy stuff we've sort of put in a separate pile, and the more claggy clayey stuff that we've moved round the corner. Ideally I would have got rid of all that topsoil out the way completely, but it would have completely trashed the rest of the field, and Mark would have killed me if I'd have lost any more grass area. So we've decided to leave it there for now, and then we'll come back to that when the weather dries up and we can actually move it across the field and send it round the corner afterwards. The other thing we've done is, because the field slopes down to where the shed is going to go, we have there was already a land drain in here, but not one across the field. So we've run a land drain now, or a French drain, all the way along the back side of the building. We've sailed it in fairly low, and we've filled that up sort of about 400 or 500 mil or so with pea gravel, and we've left it about 4 or 5 inches lower than the surface, because what we're going to do when we landscape that back over, the soil will go over the top, so the rain will land on the soil or on the grass. It will then filter through the soil, and then ultimately when it hits the clay, it then goes into the French drain and gets rid of it. So it'll stop any water coming off the field onto our nice clean site. So now with the site fully stoned up, the next thing for us here is going to be the footings. So James has already done the footing plan, so we're going to come out now, we're going to mark everything up, we're going to dig the footings, book concrete, we're going to try and pick a dry day, because I don't want the footings filling up with water while we're waiting for concrete. So we'll dig off in the afternoon and pour the following morning. I don't know whether we're going to get a chance to do that this week or not, because the weather's not looking fantastic. But in the meantime, James has been drawing in the office, so I'm going to send you guys to James. So the first thing on the list for James to do is to produce us a foundation plan, which he's already done. So this is what the foundation plan looks like, as you've seen before in other videos. So that now comes out to us, and then we can get on with the foundations. And in the meantime, then James can start putting all the steel work in. So you've already seen the stanchions have gone in, the rafters are now in. James has put all the tubular bracing in. He's put the cantilever on the one side. Now he's put the roof on. There's the concrete panels, and on goes the side cladding. And that is pretty much it. That is all done now, ready to be printed off. So James will now print that off, and that goes through to production. So now Coops, Yam Yam and Stuart are going to quantify all the materials that we require for this particular building. That's every single nut, bolt, screw, washer, all the roofing sheets, the side cladding, the concrete panels, the steel, absolutely everything. They'll put all that together as a package, and then for them, they'll get everything on order, and then the next side of it for us is them drawings along with the orders and everything for the steel work go through to the workshop. So workshop wise now, Andy's taken all the drawings. He'll do some little checks as well before we get on with making anything, but then the parts will be made over by JJ in the parts bay. While they're being done, we've got the guys on the saw, they're going to be cutting it and stacking it all ready to go into the building. We bought all this material in raw because it is going to go off to the galvanizers once it's done. So then the whole building will come into the workshop, and then like I've said before in previous videos, we will be gluing all these parts to these main sections of steel once the holes have been put in, and that will then go through its final checking process, out the door, on the back of the wagon and away to the galvanizers. So while all that has been happening, obviously it gives us chance then. I've set the levels here so we know that we're going to put the footings in at 300 below what the finished floor level of the building is going to be, and they've been able to get the building done. We can then get the footings in, it gives us a chance to do that. All the materials will come in while the building is away at the galvanizing plant, and then everything should all come together in one fell swoop, delivered to site. The footings will be in by that point, and then we can start putting it up. So while we've had the machines here as well, I've took advantage of Fowler & Gilbert's digger and the rotating selector grab, because if you remember in here, we had an absolute quagmire of a mess where we couldn't get to the bales that were at the bottom anymore because the telehandler was now bellying out on all of the dirt and the muck and the mud. So while it was here, I got the rotating grab, and I have carried each bale from down the bottom there on the track machine out, put it out here, and we've got all the bales except for this little handful because I run out of diesel before I had a chance to move them. And then that has meant we've been able to get Ditty the Digger Driver just to smooth all that mud back off. Now it's not finished yet, but if that starts to dry out now as the weather comes right, all we've got to do then is sail over that afterwards with a power harrow. We can start thinking about seeding up and putting back to grass. The only other things on the farm this week, hopefully tomorrow is Wednesday, we are selling cattle. Me and Mark think we've got 9 to go. I've asked Bernie if he'll just nip out and have a look for a market rate and auction and see if he agrees with the 9. There's roughly 20 coming through altogether, but of the 20, we think there's only about 9 ready to go at the minute, which I'm hoping this week we'll see a little bit of a rise in trade, because last week it sort of just dipped off. Whether that was because of Easter, bank holiday, kids off, I don't really know, but we saw a little bit of a dip in the fat cattle trade. I'm hoping it's just going to ease its way back up, whether it's this week or next week, I don't know. So I'm going to ask Bernie his opinion on that too. But that's it for this week. If you like what you've seen, hit subscribe, ring the bell, and we were going to leave you now with a massive on the farm montage. We've got a cattle going into the auction. We've got loads of stuff going on the big site. A little bit more of James doing the drawings, Coops and the guys doing the quantifying, tiny bit of the workshop montage. Boom.